How's it going, guys? My name is Caleb Kioh, founder of Wallet Guide, and today we are going to be talking about the future of money, the internet, and AI. And I tell you what, oh my goodness, it's going to be a part two of one of the most exciting podcasts we've done. And of course, we got the top of the top, the cream of the crop, Russell Castagnaro. Did I say that right?
No,
It's close enough for me. Really, you get the
Castagnaro.
cast and the O, and everything in between is just gravy.
Awesome. Okay, Castanero, venture steward at Bufficorn Ventures, blockchain and eGov leader. I mean, this man, he is the who's who in Denver when it comes to blockchain, cryptocurrencies, anything, digital currencies. He's the guy to talk about. So we got some really good guests today, and then of course we have another, top Bitcoin influencer, Adryenn Ashley, venture capitalist, futurist, host of Mint in the Future, Web3 influencer. Should I keep going? Like, I mean, there's it's a
Don't
list.
forget
We'll
about
be
her
here for
books too. She's got so
yeah, there's
much.
like 10 books going. Yeah, it would be here for a while. But let's just say I got my fingers in a lot of pies. I talked to a lot of people, and I listened to a lot of things.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I tell you what, I mean, being in finance and especially personal finance, normally, I talk to a lot of bankers, financial coaches and, people of that nature. But of course, or I would say, at least for me, another thing that gets me super excited is when I get an opportunity to talk about Bitcoin and digital currencies because, I feel like digital currencies, Bitcoin, it's one of those topics that perhaps rightly so for certain people, but it doesn't kind of come on the surface when it comes to money. Right. And I'm excited when I actually understand the importance of it. I remember the whole Satoshi's situation. So I know Adrian and Russ. We already had a conversation about this, but this is part two. We're gonna expand on
That
that.
was 2018, right?
That was 2018, yes. So it's been a hot minute. Things have changed a little bit, except for the religion of blockchain and the ethos of
Mm,
blockchain. That has remained consistent. Well,
mm,
everything else has had their moments of chaos.
mm. Well, look, we're gonna dive into it, right? But before we do, just in case people, because I know post COVID, when it comes to memory, there's been some situations there. So we need to probably go back from the top, start from you guys' backgrounds. Let's kind of give a little, introduction of like, first of all, why are you guys even in this space, right? We can
To
start with
save the world.
whoever.
Go ahead, Adrian. You can start.
You know what? Nobody ever wants to go after me. You go. Besides, he has the governmental credibility. This is
Yeah.
why people should listen to him because he's not only been around the block and he. I could introduce him. So he invented a Bitcoin till that Walmart could have used that would have literally allowed people to pay in Bitcoin and then operated just like a regular functional POS system that would have deposited cash in their banks. And that he was too early on that. Now I think people would probably go for it a little bit more because they'd be like, oh my God, I can hodl some Bitcoin without having to buy it. People just give it to me. Yes, that could be
Is it
awesome, right? And then he
is this
also he
true?
also
Oh yeah.
developed and ran the eGov program, which put all of the government services through a digital ID on the blockchain to actually make those services much easier for the public to access and much more traceable and trackable and therefore efficient for the government. He's also a steward of Bufficorn Ventures, so that is kind of affiliated with East Denver, so Ethereum based, EVM compatible, but all the like really slick, cool, amazing things that are coming out of East Denver and all of the other East events,
Mm.
Bufficorn supports those, and he has a unicorn dot something space unicorn dot
.eth. Unicorn.eth.
unicorn dot e. Um, Basically, if you were thinking about a decentralized community, right? So you could always build
Mm.
something on Circle or build something on something else. But, again, then you run into this situation where there is a centralized control that could be subpoenaed, could be shut down, could take your stuff away, could turn off your AWS, like all these things. The whole reason that I tell everybody not to build their stuff on, a Facebook group, it could go away. On Discord, it's a black box. It does nothing for you SEO wise. And there's so many scammers in the DMs, you're putting your community at risk. You want to build it on your own domain name, which you can CNAME with unicorn.eth. You can do all of those things, but it's a decentralized community, and it actually ran all of the community functionality for East Denver this year. Man. Did I do a good job? That's 1/10 of what he's done.
No, that was really good. I think all I would add to that is kind of the way that my route into crypto and Bitcoin really was from payments. So it was in a couple of startups. The first one was for charity, and we were the first company to allow people to make credit card donations to nonprofits. It's kind of inconceivable that people didn't do that before, but they didn't. And then went on to government. And so when I was running the Hawaii Information Consortium, we ran all of the state of Hawaii and the county's applications, the government applications, and processed the payments. So when it came time in I believe it was 2012, the legislature, we were the first legislature in Hawaii to pass the legalization of cannabis for medical purposes. And so we had to set up the applications for awarding the dispensaries, for the medical dispensaries in Hawaii. And I realized it was $10,000 and these guys don't have bank accounts. So I ended up going up to South by Southwest, which at the time was the only place I could find all this stuff, and went to every single Bitcoin related talk. And then we came back and we actually wrote a Bitcoin payment system to allow people to pay for their licensing. Well, and we had the blessing of everybody until right before we went live. The banking commissioner basically didn't like what was happening and got the legislature to require a paper check to pay for this. And so we were out. They couldn't pay electronically at all. But I was already halfway down the rabbit hole. And at that point, I knew about all the pain associated with payments. When you're doing $2 billion in payments a year like we were doing, you learn way too much of the sausage making of ACH and credit cards. And I realized how much more efficient and better crypto was with Bitcoin. And so we created WAMPay, which was the till system that Adryenn was talking about, which was mainly was used by cannabis dispensaries more than anybody else, but could be used by anyone. Even Adryenn's company was Lolly at the time, was a customer. So that was really exciting. Then that's what got me in. Now, Adryenn has an even cooler. Adryenn, you came in from the days of South by Southwest as well, right? But from the ride sharing, the lack of ride sharing, wasn't it? Wasn't that the thing that got you in?
No, that wasn't actually the thing that got me in. 2009, I was asked if I would take Bitcoin, probably on the testnet. Who the heck knows? Instead for my consulting fee to talk about, driving mainstream adoption of a digital currency. And I'm just like, I don't know what the heck it is, but I like to be on the bleeding edge. I'm in San Francisco. Okay, I wrote down the 26 hexadecimals. I'm on a Mac V5 on a terminal window. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm literally pushing the buttons, I'm told. I wrote down a long string of numbers, did not write down two. And then promptly, like 6 months later, donated that computer to a charity, and I've never seen it again. So there goes all that Bitcoin. Ouch. If that was Bitcoin. Who the heck knows? All I know is I got an inkling, I got a sense, and I really got in full time in 2012. I recognized that we do a lot of donations, especially for charity, and we can't track the money, right? We give countries $400 million to do a project. They get 1/4 of the way through it. They go, we ran out of money. It's like, well, where'd the money go? I don't know. And so that I thought, okay, well, we need to be able to have like a donor wall for these local charities and have people be able to donate and have it inscribed. Now, at the time, we only had like colored coins as NFTs. Like I was trying to do things really, really, really the hard way. And so that kind of stagnated. But then I was looking at all of these other ways of proving, who you actually are with sovereign digital ID and working on that. It really wasn't until ETH came out and I started working on that I did a naughty dating app for good girls that gets women laid by putting consent on the blockchain, and then you have a sovereign ID, and you can have people vouch for you, proof of personal stake. Because really, if a man goes on a blind date, his worst fear is that she's going to be fat, and if a woman goes on a blind date, her first concern is that she's going to be murdered. So how do you balance that equation? You have to do that with a decentralized vouching system. So I created all of that along with an AI matchmaker. I built the testing harnesses for a natural language processing chatbot in banking in 2000 for AI. So I break things for a living. That's my genius.
And
He builds, I break.
And you're now, are you still a venture capitalist as well?
I am a VC, Slay Ventures.
Nice.
Started that in 2017. And basically, we have a venture studio in Reno. We are launching 100 AI blockchain-based startups, all consumer-facing. So every single one, the ultimate mission is how do we drive mainstream consumer adoption so that people will use the thing just like they use email. They don't know how it works. It just magically works. And take it like that instead of being so afraid of, oh my God, it's blockchain. Oh my God, it's this. Oh my God, it's that. The mainstream media has spent so much time sowing fear, uncertainty, and doubt into mainstream consumers. We've got to do some repair work there. And I think the best way to do that is with stupid, fun activities like augmented reality, walking tours around cities, and things like that. Like literally fun, entertaining, and then move into useful, and then and you just expand from there. Where they go, oh, this is easy. Oh, this is easy. There's nothing frightening about this. Wait a minute. Matterify already solved the whole idea of 26 hexadecimal public and private keys. It's just by name. So then you just send it to my name, and then it magically knows which wallet to go into, and it's private. So we're getting there. We're almost there.
Yeah. No, love it. And as I mentioned, guys, for the audience, I got an illustrious, right? They have no illustrious background. So this is not just some run-of-the-mill sort of speakers we have going. So this is exciting. So I'm ready to dive in, and I want to actually start off with, and I will initially talk about what has been the biggest change from our last podcast. But before I do that with cryptocurrencies, I want to actually talk about what do you think is the most misunderstood thing about blockchain and Web3, and even AI by the average consumer?
Well, I'll take that one first. I think that about AI, I think that that there's a big fear factor that people have about it. And it's not that they shouldn't necessarily be concerned and be wary of AI. It's not AI is a tool, and the odds that AGI is gonna happen really soon is really small. However, AI is really good at manipulating us. That's really the number one thing that it's doing, is learning how to manipulate people. That's what all the training for all these systems are. And that's why, regardless of what chat you use, an AI-based chat, it seems like a real person. Like, I don't know if you've gone into like ChatGPT or whichever one you use, and you've asked it, hey, what kind of a person am I? You'll find out that it knows you really, really well if you use it a lot. But it's not the AI you should be concerned about. It's the companies that own the AI. Right. And it's hard to, it's one of these second degree things, but you have this relationship with your AI that you think you personify it and you have it there. But really think about how subtly, by tweaking responses just a little bit based on algorithms at a company that's controlling the AI, they can direct large populations into areas that, to use certain things, or to, think about product placement, but you don't even notice anything but a subliminal message that's in your brain that you now feel like is the honest truth. So once we start moving to this kind of oracle-based society where we ask the oracle what we should do before we do it, like we're back to being the Greeks again, like, how much of our agency are we really giving up? That's the thing you should be concerned about, is how companies are manipulating you by giving you the information that you want with a slightly different frame. As far as like on the blockchain front, I think the thing that is probably most exciting to me is that when we last talked Bitcoin, and then there was Doge and a few other forks of Bitcoin.
Doge's still out there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Doge is still out there. God forbid. Ethereum was a really new player on as far as I think maybe that was pre Crypto Kitties, or maybe just after Crypto Kitties.
It was
after it was after Crypto
daughter
Kitties.
was teaching me how to do Crypto Kitties, and I
That's
was
right.
having the worst time. I still don't think I own one, or if I do, I lost the wallet right then. Right then.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure out my Ether wallet to save my life.
Right. And so that was the big problem, is like figuring all that. Well, the good thing is now we have stable coins, we have NFTs. A lot of the complication on the back end has been resolved to a certain extent. It's changed a little, but it's also, however, now we're getting to the point where you don't need to own to actually be in custody of a private key to own your own keys. You're able to there's other technology that makes it so that you can securely have your own wallet that's self-custodial. In other words, not owned by an exchange or by some other company, and have full control over it. And so when you hear read, write, web, that's Web3. You're able to write because you're able to own your own data, versus with like Amazon. You put in your credit card information, Amazon has all your payment information and they use it for you, right? In Web3, you can keep your own information about your payments, about whatever you're sharing. A good example is like the vaccination cards that came out, the digital ones. Most of us, for the first time, whether you liked it or not, that was the first time you owned any of your own personal health information. Otherwise, it was like an excruciating process to get it from your doctor or your primary care or your insurance system. And so that was the first real experiment where we had wide distribution of personal information to individuals that they were then sharing using this technology and using cryptography. So I think it's pretty exciting. That was probably a little rambly, but that's how I am.
No, that was great. Yeah, go ahead, Adryenn. Yep.
I was gonna say he's totally spot on. So the thing about AI, right? And this is it's a little bit of an aha. I apologize if you were happy in the Matrix. That part's over, because we're about to show you how the sausage was made. Like the whole idea of an AI market manipulating exactly what you see algorithmically, and maybe it was a little like kindergarten AI, more like algorithm rules kinds of things, and not exactly as sentient as it feels like right now. But trust me, they had these things even 5 years ago, and the other piece, of course, is that it's listening to you, right? Yeah. We did the experiment. Like, I don't have a fish. And I'm starting to talk about the fish tank and cleaning the fish tank and don't let me forget the fish food and all of a sudden all my ads are fish, right? Why? Because this little bad boy, this is not your friend. This little bad boy is absolutely listening to everything, tracking everything. My friend is a data broker and he has a company, and it's like the least amount of data he has is 3,000 data points on 360 million people. And I'm like, that's frightening, because there's kids in there. And of course there is, because kids use the internet and kids play games, and those games need to be able to know what to target those people. So the key with AI is unharnessed, unleashed, and it's out in the wild. That information, because I don't know if you remember early on, a Samsung corporate secretary used ChatGPT to write up the meeting minutes or something like that, and then ChatGPT served up a private boardroom piece of information in an answer on Samsung to somebody else, right? So the risk that we have right now, it's one thing if you're going to go generate, your little Ghibli, things, or your little bobblehead pictures of yourself, and fun and games and entertainment. That's how people learn. But if you're going to do anything serious, right? If you're going to do anything confidential, that's where I feel like this move to blockchain protected private AI is really the decentralized AI, where that's what we're going to need. So all the repository, you'll have the LLM and all the main training. That's out in the main thing. But your repository, your conversations are in your own, either on your hard drive, completely offline, or in your own encrypted repository where only you with your keys can get in. That's where I
Mm.
think we need to move for privacy's sake, especially now that we see that 23andMe has gone bankrupt. They'd already sold all that data information before, but now literally it's going to be up for grabs in anybody. So everybody should go delete their stuff. Um,
You're really making the argument for homomorphic encryption already. Is that what you're doing?
oh yes, because seriously,
Yeah.
like I found a half brother on 23andMe. I thought I was an only child of an only child of an only child who had an only child, and I was all alone in the world. And nope, turns out I'm not. Thanks. But there's so much, but do people really want to know that, right? I mean, talk about outing family things. People don't necessarily really want to know the truth all the time. They want to know
So
the truth that makes them happy and comfortable.
and I mean, you guys are bringing up a lot of great points as we go through this. A lot of tech nerds, they call it, it's almost like humanity's headed towards this singularity future, this digitalization. So it seems like, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, as we're transitioning, although things are getting free, information is what they're collecting now. So like we're giving up our identity, so to speak. And sometimes it seems like, whether knowingly or unknowingly, a lot of people don't know, it seems, that that's the trade-off, even though things are more free now, but now your identity is being taken.
If the
What are
product is free, you are the product.
your
Just keep that in mind. I mean, that is a tried and tested law right there. But I
hmm
do think that there's a lot more coming. Russell mentioned stable coins, and I'm a bit of a shit disturber.
What you called it?
Shit disturber. Okay, so my whole point is this, right? Why would you ever hold stable coins when stable coins that are that are literally tied to the US dollar are subject to the same inflation as the US dollar? And the only difference would be that you're sovereign holding them rather than putting them in a bank, and the bank could either go belly up or somebody could steal it or whatever like that, right? So that's one benefit. Now you do actually get a lot more interest if you take stable coins and you stake those on a lending platform like Wise Lending or something, because people will stake their Bitcoin and they need to borrow the stable coin to go buy whatever it is they want to buy without
hmm
having to incur a capital gain because they just borrowed against their Bitcoin. They didn't actually sell it. So they didn't trigger that capital gain piece. But
That's a big win.
that's a big win. I think and Russell, I'm going to challenge you've got to make this part up because somebody has to do it. And I trust you to do it ethically, but we need to come up with, like, let's just look at a basket of groceries, right? A basket of groceries. I want to know that these 50 items and then these 200 items have a stable value so that if I hold this stable coin, I am always going to be able to get bread, milk, cheese, meat, fruit, right? Like I'm going to be able to get that it's a hedge against inflation. Like it's the anti-inflation, something like that, because you have a lot of volatility in crypto, right? And that's kind of
Not really as much as we have in the Dow nowadays. I mean, like honestly, the volatility of crypto and the stock markets have started coming pretty close to each other. It's kind of remarkable. But until people start getting paid start getting paid in a non-stable coin crypto, I think that for 98% of people that that using crypto as a hedge is an edge case. It's not what people widely do. I think what you see is people in developing countries, Venezuela and stuff, they're preferring stable coins because there are, whether you're using a USD based stable coin for the dollar or a euro based stable coin, that they're really they're benefiting, right? Their economy and their currency, their native currency, maybe is getting 10% deflation or inflation every month. If they hold it in US, a US or a euros currency, they're getting a lot more stability. So I think that for most common people, that's going to be more. and because it's hard, to say, oh, this basket, we're gonna base the price on this basket of goods. The basket of goods, the cost of that can vary widely. So the best I think we can do in the short term is to allow people to really pick and choose the stable coin or that fits them for a more liquid investment. And then when they're actually doing investment, which is different than savings, then they're talking about tokens, or they're talking about, other sorts of things. And I think one thing I do want to mention here is this idea of surveillance. We talk about, Adryenn said quite rightly that if it's a free product, then you're the product, right? That means your data is being sold. And I look on, I'm a Gen Xer, and I look at people on Venmo sharing all of their information, like, oh, mushrooms, like what? They're sharing all this information. They're choosing to share it for whatever reason. They think it's fun. That's great. But when you think about what surveillance of all your financial transactions can do, it is a frightening prospect, and one that China is already doing. When you hear about central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, those are typically designed with a surveillance aspect. And that's one of the things that thankfully the U.S. has said that they're not interested in doing. And we'll see if it holds. But that's really important, because if every one of your transactions is being traced and the government knows all this, or if it's not the government, if instead it's Amazon, they came out with a stablecoin and they were doing the same thing, I think that's scary. Amazon doesn't yet. They're very anti-crypto at this point because they just make too much money off of the existing CeFi solutions that are out there.
That's fine. But here was the other fun thing, right? So it goes back to like early Facebook, and somehow or other, I got suckered into adding my Amazon, and it would like automatically post everything I bought on Amazon, right? And then I went toy shop.
That's scary.
I didn't realize it until somebody goes, "Damn, girl." I was like, "Oh, oops."
Yeah. Okay. No. So you guys are bringing up a lot of great points, and of course, a lot of like, a lot of reasons for caution. Now, you mentioned and you brought up the fact that people use Venmo already, which is almost, if you want to say, like a peer-to-peer, opportunity to.
It is nothing about it is peer-to-peer.
It's nothing. It's
just
peer-to-peer.
a wrapper. At this point, it's become just a wrapper for PayPal.
Okay.
It's owned by PayPal. So peer-to-peer would mean I send you money, but what I do is I'm sending my money to your account.
Okay.
Right? And you have an account with them, and they let you withdraw from that account. You can use it because they're the bank for you, and then you can pull it out if you want. But that's a transfer to your bank. You don't really have custody. So it's not peer-to-peer. It's account to account. It seems like it is because you're sending money directly to another person electronically, and there's not a lot of ways to do that in conventional finance. But you have to know that at any time, the money that you have even if it's in your Venmo account, right, your balance can be pulled back from you any moment by Venmo.
Let's dive deeper into that, actually, because that was a great way to kind of clarify the difference between, because I'm sure maybe the common layman may think like a Venmo or a Zelle or Cash App is, and Adryenn is shaking her head. She's like, God forbid. No, that's not. So
and I have all of them. And let me tell you, they do not like to talk to each other. They want you to have to go in and out of a regular bank account at a regular bank, not a neobank. Like they're really particular, and they don't make it easy. In the grand scheme of things, actual freedom would be me pulling up an app and sending money to someone, and it goes from my account to their account. And nobody can say no. Nobody can stop me. Now, the trade-off is personal responsibility and self-reliance. My keys, my money. I lose my keys, I lost my money. I send something like I did when I accidentally bought a fake Spooky Boys mint in the middle of the night after working 20 hours a day for a month on a launch. and I got suckered out of about thousands. So, um,
Mm. So those are the
personal
trade-offs.
responsibility. I literally went, bought it, and I'm waiting for it to land, and I'm like, come on, come on, come on. Oh my God, the timer's going down. I could buy another one. I should buy another one. It's Spooky Boys. I should buy another one. I could buy another four. And then I hit go. And then I went, I actually don't know how to stop that transaction. I just sent thousands of dollars to a scammer. I go, that gas was not enough to mint for NFT.
So
And it took
is
me a minute,
that
right? Like, so you got to have, we need a little bit more, maybe pre hurdles of
mm,
this is what you're actually doing. And now there are some really good Chrome extensions that are like, this is what you're doing, and here's who you're sending it to. Is that what you meant to do? Right?
mm.
Like a little pre-check, because people are fast and loose with the whole buy it now button, just like I am.
And like once your digital transaction or your that it's gone. Like once it's gone, it's gone. There's no bringing it back or
Yes and no.
okay.
Traditional ERC20, yes. Traditional NFTs, yes. However, Mr. Nobody had been explaining that because of the finance laws that were required, and because of this push to bring in blockchain and DeFi into traditional Fi, they had to have these certain rules. So there were certain contracts that allowed you to pull the stuff back, because if you're a broker, if you're a licensed finance person, you have to have that ability. And so they couldn't actually touch it because of a technicality. So they fixed that so then they could touch it. But then Mr. Nobody goes, well, what is that to do? And they weren't listening, kept bringing it up. So he minted Beeple's 5,000 days version 2 in Beeple's wallet and then moved it out. So anybody who's going to go do diligence and they're going to go, oh, is this the same? Here's Beeple's version 1 that's sold for, all this money at Sotheby's. And then they go and they look, and it was minted in the same wallet, right? They call it a sleep mint. So it was minted in his wallet, and then it was moved, and then he put it up for sale, and then everybody went, oh, wait, we have a loophole to close. Yes. So technology-wise, there are many, many things that we have not even discovered that can be done that are a little sketch, right? So keeping consumers safe is important. I think very much the basics. And I do believe that some biometric and self-sovereign digital identity is important, so that
So
this is absolutely the person I meant to send it to.
so it sounds like you're saying there still hasn't really been a true and I guess this goes against cryptocurrency or digital currencies itself, but like some sort of governing agency to like regulate what's going on.
We
Is
don't
that
want
what you're
regulation.
right. But
Yeah,
like
this is where I think we would disagree with Adryenn and
ooh,
I.
okay.
I do want good regulation, because there's a reason that exactly, and I think that you should be free to put up your own coin and do what you want with it, but you should also have a way to do voluntary reporting to make sure, just like if you're doing business with a business, you know who owns it, you know how to sue them, how to resolve issues, and we don't have that for the token economy. And I think that that would be, both that and the smart contracts that back them, having a not required, a voluntary way of doing it, which would essentially separate like sort of it's kind of like you have over-the-counter stocks, and you have stocks that are on some exchange. There are some investors, most investors, 99% of investors, who would never think about investing in OTC, because that is the Wild West.
Sure.
And I think you can look at tokens the same way. I think having whether it's a national registry or in each state, I think having a simple, low-cost, easy way to do a registration will alleviate a lot of concerns. And something a lot of token fans do is say, "Oh, it's all on the blockchain." Well, it's all on the blockchain, but pulling it out in a way that makes sense to people, instead of doing kind of these static filings that we do for companies. We could have like a standard reporting, like this is what you need to report. You have a visualization. You can be running on Dune or something that everybody could see and know exactly what the status of your project is. Whether it's a stable coin, so you have verifiable proof of backing funds, or it's something else, an investment, having that people can look at and standard metrics that people know, okay, I can compare apples and apples here. And you'll know when you're talking about apples and oranges. That would be amazing. And that would be some very lightweight, simple legislation and regulation that I think almost all of the non-overly extractive teams would welcome.
Dude, so then why hasn't that been done? I would say first question, and then second question, for the audience too, you mentioned tokenization or the token economy. Could you kind of elaborate a little bit more on what that is? Is it all the different digital currencies? And if it is, could you list like the key big names of it? I know there's two questions there.
Sure. I think when we talk about tokenization, when you invest in a stock, the stock in the old days, it used to be a bearer bond. It said, "Oh, you have this many shares," and you could exchange that in for, this is the proof that I can vote, or this is the proof I can sell it for more. It's a contract essentially. And what tokenization is the same thing but digital, and on the blockchain. So
Digital
you can,
contract.
Through a digital contract, and I think contract from a legal standpoint, as well as normally the tokens have a backing contract as well. So you have different types of tokens, ones that can be used for fundraising, like to say, oh yeah, you've got this many tokens. You can give people token. And the idea of having tokens is you can use them to incentivize behaviors that are beneficial for your project, whether it's a company or a DAO, a distributed or autonomous organization, or a nonprofit, or what have you. So the idea is you reward people for doing good things, and that way they're more likely to do those things, and they're becoming part of this economy that you have around the tokens, the token economy, if you will. Right? And if that is you want people to invest, then whenever they invest, you're going to give them some multiple of tokens back. If it's something like for ETH Denver, which happens here every year, we have Spork DAO, and it has Spork. And we don't sell Spork. We give it out to people who take part in the event. Right? So we have a Colorado Cooperative Association, and when you take part, you get a token that says, oh, you did something. So like maybe you showed up and you get 52.8 tokens. You're a speaker, maybe you get 5,000 tokens. You're a hacker that won, maybe you get 150,000 tokens. It just depends, right? But that's defined by what's good for the economy. What's a right behavior for that token economy. And then you use that in the case of Spork DAO. You don't necessarily sell it, you hold it and stake it to become a member. And then we do distributions based on the profitability of ETH Denver every year. And that goes out to all the owners so that they can then claim some of those funds. If you're talking about an investment, that's a different kind. If you're talking about a utility token, that's more what people are already used to. Like a utility token that gives you access to a month's worth of your live streams, or something like that, right? That they're not going to necessarily sell it. You might have a dollar value that's worth, because a subscription for you is worth $20 a month, say.
So it's almost like you're saying different tokens for different activities.
That's correct. So different types. You have utility tokens, investment tokens, and then patronage tokens.
And they all translate into value, currencies.
They may, but some of them don't. Some of them really don't equate to some value. Although everybody tries to financialize everything, that's why they have, like, when you go to and get a ticket, like for if you're at a church or something, and they say, hey, buy tickets, and you get it says this has zero value other than some par value. So it's some of them are that kind of thing. A lot more of them nowadays are not. Yeah, meme coins are just all about value. Yeah.
No, it's gambling. Come on, it's gambling.
Oh no, I agree. It is gambling.
Coin, and it's going to pump up fun for about 45 seconds. It's going to jack from sub penny all the way up to like $2, and the whales are going to get out, and then everybody else is going to have their lunch eaten.
Yeah. Now, Caleb, can I ask you a question? Like the folks that listen to your stuff, what would you say the demographic there is? Because I think it'd be kind of fun if we could really some of these things we're talking about can be pretty wonky and esoteric. Sure. Like the community of followers that you have, like what do you think what's their demographic? What are they most interested in?
Yeah, so really use cases of our demographics are young professionals between the ages of 25 to 34. So, and the biggest thing that I'm even really trying to, and the whole point of these podcasts and conversations is to provide like a relatability of what digital currencies are. Because, of course, the people that are not involved, they hear it, they see it, they hear meme coins, Doge coins, Kim Kardashian's butt coins, I don't know, all these different things, and they're like, what is going on here, right? So they're just used to regular cash, right? And other currencies that they have in different nations. So I think the whole point of all this is trying to, first of all, talk about, what is digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, and is it the same thing as the current medium of exchange that they're using? And if it is, or if it's not, what's the difference? And why should they perhaps transition over to this new way of medium of exchange versus the old way?
Okay, I want to stop you right there with the transition over. There
Sure.
is nothing that says that our current economy and fiat means of transacting is going to go away anytime soon. So don't think about it as transitioning. Think about it as the difference between, you used to write checks or pay in cash. Then there were credit cards. So you'd write checks, pay cash, or put it on your credit card. Then there was debit cards. Just think of it as an evolution, right? And then we had Cash App, we had PayPal, right? Then we had Cash App, then we had Venmo. Like, it's just another enlargement of your choices for how to transact. But for that age group, especially that demographic, the very first thing that I would say is go to iTrust Capital and get yourself a self-directed Roth IRA. It's going to be a small amount of money that you can put in after tax dollars. Play your crypto lottery in there. Number one, it's going to force you to hodl and be long-term thinking, because you're not going to be able to take it out for a while.
Hodl meaning hold on to it.
Yeah, hodl. Hodl meaning hold on for dear life. So thank you. But that way, and I always say, first you have to understand who you are. Like, don't just dive into crypto investing because somebody said so, and then you're trying to figure out what these candlestick charts mean, your eyes rolling in the back of your head and you're curling up in a fetal position like I do. Like, I don't do that. I'm a builder, right? I'm a builder. I invest in founders. That's how I look at it.
Love it.
I leave the technical analysis to the technical people in that. So, but what I'm saying is you got to figure out who you are, right? So my favorite exercise for new people is get yourself a crypto.com account. And the reason I say that has nothing to do with crypto.com. It has everything to do with their UX is really good for this exercise. So you're going to buy $5 to $20, randomly split out among 10 to 15 things that you think you like, right? And it does not matter how good of the project it is. Some point in the next week, the entire screen is going to be bloody. I mean, you could have gone up 1,000%, and it's now everything's down 1%. Oh, that's so funny. It had me lower my hand. I'm like, oh, I turned on the little thingies. Oh, can I do this? It didn't do the thingy.
Yeah, sometimes it does that. Yeah.
But you could be up 1,000%, right? You could have put in $10. You're now at $10,000, and the whole market will drop 1%. So it'll all be red. There's a feeling where people who they're not doing the math at the moment. They're literally only looking at the trend line. And they see everything bloody. And it's like, right? Like, are you going to be able to sleep at night? What's your risk tolerance? Understanding who you are as an investor first, what your purpose is. You want to do long term. You want to do quick flips. You're willing to wake up every hour or two to make a trade. Like, who are you as an investor? There's no one size fits all. But you better know who you are before you dive into this, because this is the deep end and there's no lifeguard.
And,
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm gonna give different advice. I think Adryenn's looking at this
sure.
from an investment standpoint. Looking at your demographics, 24 to 36, they typically don't have a lot of money to play around and invest with. I would say that the
So I
first
said
thing is
$5.
yeah, but with the beginning of the ETFs, you now have if you've got a 401k or an existing IRA, you can now play in crypto with those monies, and those are long term, and those are appropriate to invest. So not that I'm saying put a big percentage in, try maybe 1-2%, move it into to like a Bitcoin ETF, and that gives that you can track that. You can see how it goes. I did it as soon as it was available in the United States. And I think that is a good thing to do. Now, what Adryenn's saying is I think it's also very useful. I think it's less useful as an investment right now and more useful to get you into the system and see what's possible. Because what you'll see is you'll get a smattering of different tokens, and you'll see how shitty some of them are and how some of them really work. And it is to a large extent really gambling. But what I would recommend is that this is the exact population of people that you can actually use crypto in your day-to-day by getting stable coins and paying people with stable coins and seeing how easy that is. In Colorado, we've got a lot of folks selling mushrooms on the streets, and a lot of folks sell, a lot of the dispensaries selling cannabis. Using a stable coin for that kind of thing is they've got a reason to take it because it costs them so much to take money any other way. And then you don't have to hold cash. And also just instead of using Venmo to pay for, to split up tabs when you go out to eat, use some crypto to do it and see how easy it really is to do. And try that first. Stick your toe in a little bit before you jump in and maybe get yourself in over your head, which is, it's so easy. It is gambling, and all the hype out there telling you do this, 99.9% is lying. So don't be a sucker, just be careful about what you're doing.
And of
okay,
course,
so the other thing, Coinbase,
mhm.
you can literally watch videos and take quizzes and get free crypto. So my whole thing was like, literally set up your own self-directed Roth IRA, even if there's only $200 in there, but play in there, because if anything goes unicorn, you want that tax-free later. I'm just saying, you want to be able to, you really do. These accidental billionaires it gets problematic when you try to unwind it. But the idea of having, of paying for things in stablecoin is absolutely perfect. I remember Russell was king of this. He would go around and he would get everybody to download a copay wallet and give them $5 in Bitcoin. That $5 back then is probably like $500 to $1,000 now, depending on when he gave it to you. But he would just literally give everybody $5. I'm like, where was that from? Like, I know.
Yeah, I was looking. So most of the time I was giving out 50 cents, right, to folks, and now you look and those wallets are worth $75.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
it was insane. I paid our friend Shelby to help me with this event, and I paid her in Bitcoin, and she just didn't touch it. She hasn't touched it since. And I'm like, that's the house fund, isn't it? And she goes, yep.
Awesome.
Sub $1,000.
Now, what you have to tell her is to take a loan on that instead of cashing it out, so she doesn't have a taxable event.
She absolutely is. Believe me, that's my
I'm
favorite.
glad you're still talking to Shelby. I'm glad. Shelby's great.
Of course. Yes,
Tell her I said hi.
I will.
Oh, can I also take a second here to say happy birthday to my youngest daughter, Lulu. It's her 18th birthday.
All right.
Woohoo.
Happy birthday, Lulu. Okay. Awesome. No, believe it or not, guys, an hour has already passed by.
What?
I know. It's insane. This is what happens when you talk about digital currencies and cryptocurrencies with top influencers in that space. Time just flies. And I got to notice over there back there as well, since we are renting this space. And so, okay, I want us to, since we've approached the close. I mean, it looks like we're probably just gonna have to do a part 3 at this point,
Okay.
right? I mean, so I want to, do some parting words from AI to digital currencies to Web3. What are some really important parting words that you guys want to leave off to the audience about this future of money and where and the convergence of AI and AI agents and everything else that's going on?
Don't be a sucker. Don't fall for scams. Do your due diligence. No, there is not an AI algorithmic arbitrage hacking bot that you can buy for $10,000 that will make you a billionaire in the next week. No, the WhatsApp private groups that you accidentally got into, you're not sure how you got in there, but oh my God, everybody who's in here, they're just so. And they gave me trading advice, and I moved all my money onto this platform that, oops, is actually a fake exchange.
Yeah.
99% of the stuff out there is a scam. No, there is nobody who is trying to buy 8 million Bitcoin through you and 14 of your friends with a NCNDA and an IMFPA and all the. No, none of that is accurate. Scam coins exist. They are many who are frequently duplicated. The first thing you should always do is go to X, type in the name of the project, and see what pops up, because I cannot tell you how many times I have found blatant reports of this is a scam, and yet they're still churning 200 people a week in, getting more people in and more people in. So be careful out there. Know that this is the future, but prepare yourself. Be sensible and learn first, invest after.
Love it. How
Yeah.
about you, Russ?
So I would say, just echoing on what Adryenn said and what we've been talking about, is the most important aspect, I think, of Web3 is your agency in managing what you're doing with your resources and with your data. And so with this agency, this control, it comes a lot of responsibility. And so think of this as the same way you would think about riding a bike. Try some easy stuff first. Starting out with a Kraken account or Coinbase is not a bad idea. But also play around the self-custodial wallets, which is like MetaMask, which is using something like unicorn.eth, which is using some of the different projects that are out there that let you have control of your own wallet. Which means, if it's like a MetaMask and you have the key, if you lose it, you lose it, right? But that there is no one who's protecting you. If you do something stupid, it's all on you. There's no chargebacks in the crypto world. So that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? It's a bad thing if you're working with somebody that you don't trust. It's a good thing if you're working with people that you already trust. So use it appropriately. And I would say, play around with stablecoins. You won't get hurt, and just start seeing how it's used. And then when you're ready and you understand you're comfortable with it, then start using other things, getting into other tokens. And, that I think is a great way to go. And I'll give one quick plug. I'm a founder now with a new project called unicorn.eth. It's myunicornaccount.com. And check it out. We're changing the way communities are built online.
Exactly. That's what I was pitching when I first introduced him, because that is the key. Never let anybody tell you no. Never let anybody deplatform you. Own your words, own your actions, not your keys, not your money. This is the ethos of blockchain and our religion.
Love it. Well, guys, like I said, time just went too fast. There's still a lot more questions I have, but like I said, within this 1 hour, it just blew by. So obviously that just means we can do another one in part 3, which I'm looking forward to. And I always love the opportunity to talk about money, talk about personal finance, talk about the future of where money is going. I love what you said, Adryenn, about the evolution of money, right? And money is evolving, and of course that means life, biology evolves, right? So there's nothing just stands still. So it makes a lot of sense to be on the watch and know that, hey, this looks like a transition that's happening, and like you said, be cautious, but definitely talk about it. And that's what these podcasts are all about, getting people informed. And as we continue to get digitalized, right, and as we head towards the singularity, we'll see what happens with this concept of money, right? So really looking forward to continuing the conversation, the money conversation with you guys. And I'm sure we're going to be having a part 3 coming up pretty soon. Well, that is it, and we are over and out.